Hi guys, I'm Chris.
And Mike.
And welcome back to this week's No Limits a Mid-Trap podcast. How you doing this week, Mike?
Hey, I'll be doing better this weekend when I get some golf in with you. And a barbecue too, right?
Yeah, a little birthday barbecue, celebrating my 30th, well, my 31st, but 30th redone since my 30th birthday was, mid-lockdown, and I was just sequestered up in Ithaca with my kids and my wife. So yeah, no, it should be fun. Hit the sticks.
You get a 2-for-1. 2 birthdays in one. We'll make up for last year.
2 birthdays in one. Yeah, should be good. So
we'll have to drink twice as much.
Yes.
And hit twice as many golf balls, which I'll probably do anyway.
That's for sure. Yeah, I'm bringing my dad out, and he's all worried. I'm like, Dad, you need to go buy some balls because you're probably going to lose some.
I always carry plenty of extras, which I happen to run through faster than I want to, but I should have them covered.
Yes.
Nice. Well, looking forward to that. That's going to be great. And we got a lot going on the Mid-Trap podcast. I don't know about you, but I loved last week doing a live show with our patrons. Definitely want to get that going. Hopefully we can do that maybe once a month or so. I loved it.
Yeah, we actually, we didn't realize, or you didn't tell me that our live broadcast had ended like 10 minutes ago. I was just going, I thought, oh man, this is great. And then you get to the end, you're like, yeah, our broadcast cut out at like minute 46 or whatever. But no, it was good.
The last like 10 minutes.
We figured it out, and we know better next time. But I think our patrons got a kick out of it. So it was nice to see people get some comment, get some feedback.
Yeah.
We'll have to appease Steph K by talking a lot about Scott in the next book. So,
yep. Got to talk Scott. I want a Scott book again. I want Term Limits Part 2. I want. Do we have any left where Scott's going to be like the main protagonist? I'm trying to think through them.
He was pretty heavy in. He was a big player in Total Power.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And Kyle even told us he's playing a big role alongside Rap in Enemy at the Gates. So something to look forward to there.
I think it's what the fans want, so we'll see.
Yes, indeed. Dude, though, thinking about all the way ahead to September, we've got a pretty stacked book release schedule the next couple of months. I feel like we're gonna be covered through the summer with what's coming out.
Very busy. Hopefully we can cover some of these books too.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a little bit a few weeks ago with Jack Carr, and since then, The Devil's Hand came out. So, man, that came out April 13th. So I'm really hoping a bunch of you got your copy. Hope the pre-orders came on time. No delays. You should definitely be through that by now. It's rock solid. And then one I'm looking forward to, I haven't started it yet, even though it's been a few months out, Matthew Betley's new book. Amira, with featuring a female protagonist. From what I hear, it's kick-ass, so I got to catch up on that, man.
Yeah, we got to get him on the pod.
Yes, I loved Overwatch. Logan West, just good stuff.
Yes.
He's doing something different, too. I definitely want to talk to him about that.
Cool. And so...
Your favorite.
My favorite, which I'm really excited.
Second favorite.
All right, second favorite. My real favorite is Vince Lynn and Mid-Trap, but I do love me some Scott Harvath and Brad Thor. So we got Black Ice coming June 22nd. Maybe we can get Brad on this pod.
That'd be something.
We've already got Kyle. We've already got Jack. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's
reach out to David.
Work that. Yeah. He can hook a brother up, so.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, speaking of people on the podcast.
Exactly.
What month was that we had Sean on? Because he was probably one of our most just enjoyable guests to talk to.
Was that last May or... No, it wasn't that early.
Well, I don't remember when Blacktop Wasteland came out. I think it was the summer.
August or September, maybe?
Yeah. The book is just like, I could feel the hot pavement.
True.
Standing outside on the racing strip on these, dead hot streets in the South. I feel like that book had to come out in August.
That was my favorite book of last year.
I really think so too.
It was a really good book. And I'm super excited for his next one. Razor Blade Tears, coming out July 6th. And we need to reach out, see if we can get that arc, maybe bring him back on the pod because
Yeah.
he was such a good interview,
Oh, for some reason, talking to him about books, I felt differently. Like I could physically feel the texture. And reading his book, I felt like you could physically feel the texture of the setting and the environment. And even talking about it, the scenes were so vivid. Not to mention, the emotions of the characters also
Right.
just equally vivid.
Right.
And just it all came through talking to him. Like it's a very memorable conversation. And so I'm ready for this one. I mean, did you hear? Stu. So if you don't follow him on Twitter or social media, at Stu J. Ash. Stu is one of the biggest readers I know, friend of the podcast. Happy to have him from the very beginning, chatting us up online. Stu said this might be his favorite book of all time.
Wow.
Razorblade Tears.
That's big.
Yeah. And he reads hundreds of books a year. I'm not even kidding.
That's big.
Like that was a big post when he dropped that. And he dropped that on the Best Thriller Books platform. So if you guys don't follow them, also
shout out to Best Thriller Books.
Best Thriller Books. Yeah, they rock.
Yes.
And then, of course, the big one.
Yes,
September.
Of course.
September 14th, Enemy at the Gates. I bet there's a bunch more we're missing, but
probably.
It's a nice couple of books.
Just to highlight a few. Yeah. Not a complete list, but,
Right.
Definitely what I'm going to be most of these I'll be taking on my summer vacation trip.
Well, today, actually, we have an author you also have to pick up. He's our guest on the podcast. So why don't you tell us, Chris, a little bit about what we're going to be talking about this episode with Craig Martelle?
Yeah, well, before I get to that, you forgot something, Mike. Our April book giveaway.
Oh, dude, you always keep me on my toes.
Oh, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to, checks and balances.
Yeah. It's like a scientist. You got to, go through the process. You got to make sure all the steps are complete or, the results are invalid.
Exactly. So, for all our patrons who subscribe, every month we do a giveaway. So this month we're giving away Pursuit of Honor, signed copy. So Mike, you want to hit that wheel?
Yeah, I got it ready. And it's great because this is our book of the month. So whoever's our winner, you have a few days here to get that book, devour it, and we will cover Pursuit of Honor
in May.
Starting in May. Yep. All right, let me spin that wheel. Hey, George. We got George M. Nice. Friend of the pod, patron. He's been with us since the beginning. So, George, congratulations. We're happy to get you the copy of Pursuit of Honor in the mail. And for you, we're happy to also give you an Audible credit for an audiobook of Pursuit of Honor. All right. Thanks for being George. A patron.
Yes. And I guess we'll do the plug here. So if you want opportunities to be entered in our monthly giveaway, go to our website, mitrepod.com, click that little orange button, and support us on Patreon. So now we can get into today's episode.
All right. Sounds good.
So today we had a pretty interesting interview with this author, Craig Martelle, author and editor. We were interested in bringing him onto the pod because he recently edited this anthology of thrillers that you had read in them, and then you gave it to me, and I devoured a couple of them. They're very good, including he had one of his own in there, which is a very interesting short story. And I don't know, I don't often read a lot of thriller short stories. This was an interesting exercise for me. But yeah, like not only is Craig an editor, he's an avid writer. He goes for quantity.
Yeah.
Spanning all genres from romance to sci-fi to, he's going to tell you in this interview. So we hope you like it. Here's our interview with Craig Martelle.
Today we welcome a special guest, Craig Martelle, an author, an editor, and the brains behind the recent release, Make Them Pay, a thriller anthology. So thanks for joining us today on the podcast, Greg.
Hey, thank you for having me, Mike and Chris. I appreciate it.
Can you maybe just start off telling us a little bit about Make Them Pay and what this project was all about?
Sure. I run a group called 20 Books to 50K. We have nearly 50,000 authors, and on occasion, Make Them Pay is the third anthology we'll have done this year for 20 Books authors. It's the thriller. We did sweet romance, we did steamy romance, and then we did a thriller. We've got paranormal romance and urban fantasy in the summer that we're doing anthologies for. Each anthology has a different genre target, but then it's narrowed within that genre. Like the a thriller anthology, Make Them Pay. We wanted justice. We had to decline some psychological thrillers, some domestic thrillers, because those are really creepy and that creeped me out, and I didn't like them. So we outstanding, and we had some best-selling, a USA Today best-selling author who submitted a psycho thriller, and I'm like, I can't read this. It made my beta readers sick. It was so detailed in areas that we didn't want it to be detailed in, shall we say. So I did a quick run through a number of cover designers. There's a group called the Cover Design Gallery, where they have a couple hundred cover designers, and people can go over there, authors can go over there and solicit. And I ran a quick thing through, and within a day, I had a custom cover, Make Them Pay, as you saw. And as Mike noted earlier, he looked at it the second time and noticed a teddy bear on there. Thanks for buying a paperback. But noticed a teddy bear on there. And so it's like, oh, hey, payback for the disenfranchised, not necessarily police or procedural. So it was we had the cover before most people wrote their stories, which was important. And the way we do it, in order so people don't waste their time, I'm a big fan of minimum viable product. If you've worked in IT, you understand that as you're building a program, you build a program so it works good enough. Well, when you're writing a short story, so what we have is we have people submit the first 500 words. And that first 500, if me and another curator, if we read them and we're not gripped by that point, don't waste your time. The book, the short story is not accepted. So people don't have to write the whole thing, just 500 words. They need to be good. Okay. So it really forces people to be good right at the start. So we had 60 or 70 people submit. We accepted 28 and ended with, I think, 22 people published in the book.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so one of the things from our pod is we're big on covers, and every time we break down one of Vince Flynn's books, at the end of our second episode, we debate all the covers that have been out there, and we quibble and quabble about, like, there's always like two random covers that just don't have anything to do with the book. But what I can say about your book and about this anthology is that this cover is perfect for this anthology. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. And obviously we'll make the plug here. All of our listeners should go out and buy this. But I would just have to say the cover, you nailed it. Like, this cover makes me want to pick this up and buy it. You know? Yeah. I don't know.
That's the target. That's the goal, man.
Yes.
The cover and then a good blurb, but the stories within, and that's the great thing about doing the first 500 words. We did that on the premise, and then we had the cover, and we showed everybody the cover for when they wrote the rest of their story, just to make sure that they all kept aligned. So out of the 22 stories, you'll see that they all align in some way that they can fit in with that cover.
That's a good idea.
And so another part of what makes me want to pick up a book is the blurb, like you said. And in the foreword that you write to this anthology, I was hooked from the start. So I just want to read this because for our listeners, this captures so perfectly the enjoyment you're going to have with these stories, where when you write, Craig, quote, "When those who think they are beyond the law come up against those who operate outside the law, get ready for fireworks. This volume was about bringing justice for those who couldn't bring it themselves. We want the champion to exist, and we want them to deliver harsh justice to those who deserve it." Sounds like a good blurb for this anthology or any other Mitch Rapp book, I would say.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yep. And as I was reminding myself, I read the Mitch Rapp books a long, long time ago, books 1 through 7, I believe. And that was when I was back in the Marine Corps and traveling a fair deal. I would pick up the book at an airport and travel and read the whole book. And then when I get back, I'd put it away and then get another one for the next trip. And I remember the stories very Tom Clancy-like in their multiple tendrils and in how they describe as they lead into a scene. They always lead into with there's mist that's drifting over the harbor. And so it sets it up that way. And then the characters get in and do their thing, but he doesn't overdo those descriptions. So I have to say, I love Vince Flynn and the way he described those things. Too bad. It really is horrible that he passed away so young, but it's still his legacy. And this is a great thing about authors. Every author out there, your legacy will live on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned that you read the first 7, being aware of the Mitrap Pod. Can you tell us which one of the first 7 were your favorite, if you can remember?
I'm looking at them here, and I liked book 3. I liked the setup of book 3, and also Mitrap had matured somewhat within his role, because the first book and that's everybody's first book in a series, even Lee Child's first one with Jack Reacher. It went on, and some of those descriptions just went on for pages. It's like there's nothing going on here.
That's the killing floor, right?
Oh my God. And so the book was, I think, much longer than it needed to be. Whereas Vince Flynn's, they were thick, but they still moved so damn fast.
Yes.
And that's what I liked about them. I liked the character profile. I liked the little details, because I remember in one of the books, Vince Flynn, Mitch Rapp is trying to get away. He's got his little cabin cruiser that is nowhere near as fast as the boats that are chasing him, and he's riding the crest, trying to get an extra knot of speed. And those kinds of little details where you're educating as well as entertaining, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
No, that's one of the great things about Vince. We appreciate his, like, the little details that he gets, while not like, because like you said, Tom Clancy. I feel like I love Tom Clancy, but I think if people, especially like younger people, go to try to read Tom Clancy, they think they can just get bogged down a lot with his specs. He's so into the specs, and so it's sort of like a blend of both worlds. But yeah.
I spent a career. I retired from the Marine Corps in 2002. I spent a
Thank you for
career
your service.
in Marine Corps intelligence. And when I first read Hunt for Red October, I was working in the north of Japan at a listening facility. We had SOSUS, we had harass, we had all of the things that he talked about, and we tracked Soviet naval forces, surface and subsurface. So everything he talked about in the Hunt for Red October, it was there. Besides this crazy submarine that had this stupid drive, but the Caterpillar drive. But outside of that, I was living it. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
So the specs, I think that book was perfect for a dweeb like me who's sitting on the night shift. And we devoured it. Somebody bought. We had a few copies, and they passed them around. Everybody read it because it was so damn good, and also made us feel small and insignificant because we had top secret clearances to know this stuff, and he described it better than we had.
And he put it in a book. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just one of many people I've spoken to who say these thriller authors, they do their research, they get it right, and even though you're reading a fun book that, has a nice pace and thrilling stories and plot lines, you can learn a lot about the life of operations and the people on the ground and out in the field and what it's like. And so I love how storytelling, and with your anthology, you get 20 different chances to get involved in a story. You're really learning something about the world. I mean, there's one in your book that stands out to me. It might have been one of your British writers. I feel like it had a very dark, ominous, rainy, cloudy kind of setting to it. And the woman basically has to be the detective, and she is the hero because the police aren't doing their job. And I bet that's something that real people come up against. So in what ways did you make them pay to reflect realities that people are going through, even though obviously it's about a bunch of heroes, larger than life characters, but at the same time there's something very real about the stories in the book?
Analyzing, and I put my business hat on for a moment, and one of the hot genres right now is vigilante justice. So taking that off and saying, hey, what do we want to write? Let's write justice thrillers, so delivering on that vigilante justice in a way that you're cheering for the hero, even though they might be working outside the law. And this is the important part of make them pay. We're going to make the bad guys pay, even if it's, does the end justify the means? In this book, we're saying, yeah, it kind of does, because the people deserve it and they're not getting it.
Right.
Yeah.
So can we transition to, you have also a story in here, and the character in there is Ian Bragg. Can you just extrapolate a little bit more about that character, how you came up with him? You mentioned you're in military, you were in Marine Corps intelligence. Have you used some of your, obviously you probably have, how does that influence your writing in any way too?
The military characters and military situations, those are all firsthand. I understand how that works. I know how they interact with people. I know how they talk about civilians. We were told when I retired, they said, "Oh, you don't call them civilians; they take offense. You have to call them private sector." So it's like, okay, we'll work on that. But those kinds of things, those kinds of conversations, and how you have to move fast, especially with Ian Bragg, and in the Ian Bragg series, which I released the third book on the same day that Make Them Pay came out. The
Nice.
third book in the Ian Bragg series.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That series is doing really well, and it's I wanted a character that was a little bit non-standard. He was a Marine, of course, so he's got some uber skills, like he shoots really well, but also the moving fast. Because in the first book, he meets up with a woman, and I've gotten some reviews, and people are like, why would he's an assassin? He should be focused singularly on this. And it's like they don't understand how Marines work, because you fight hard, you play hard. And when these guys, it's like, okay, I got 4 hours off. Hey, I'm gonna go date and get married and have kids, and then I'll be back. And you think you got 4 hours, you're gonna do all that? Well, they're gonna try. and this is something to keep in mind. It's the world of a Marine moves very fast. You have to make the most of what time you have, and you can't always be working. So work hard, play hard, and Marines will play harder than they work in order to relax, to go back on the job. It's crazy seeing what some of the Marines will do. X Games, all that kind of stuff. It's insane. Hey, let's go surfing with the sharks in the rocky shoals, and you watch them, and then they get off. They're all beat up and go back to work. So I put these in, and also I wanted a non-standard character. So we have a Marine who is now a hitman, who doesn't really drink, and then he finds a curvy girlfriend. Not fat, mind you, just curvy. Not your normal thin supermodel. So a little bit different.
Okay.
And she's a school teacher, and just it's not what you would normally find. So I went that route because she would be more malleable, let's say, because she's a school teacher, bored with her life, and here comes this guy who sweeps her off her feet. But oh, by the way, he's a hitman. And as you go through the series, because they get married at the end of book 1. Okay, spoiler alert. And it's and you're thinking, geez, he just met. They've been going out for a month. Once again, Marines, this is real life. I have in my Bad Company series, one guy comes back off liberty and he's married, and she was a stripper. And the guys are making fun of him, and then the colonel, he's having a hard time. He's like, he married a stripper. Well, come on, don't leave. It's his wife. Yeah, well, that's welcome to the Marine Corps. Welcome to the real military world. And yeah, it could work. It might not work, but it's more reality.
It's funny.
Yeah, so you bring up.
I was just going to say the women, because Vince Flynn, one thing he sometimes is criticized for is his female characters. Outside of Irene Kennedy, who's the CIA
Kennedy is awesome,
who's brilliant, right? Like top of her game. Yeah. Some people's favorite character in the series, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But a couple of Mitch's female companions didn't land. His first girlfriend, Anna, was a TV personality, news, hotshot newscaster. He did operations with a former, what was it, Chris Donatello, supermodel, but who was a turned Mossad agent. Yeah. Also has a druggy past. So it's really interesting that you focused on that with Ian Bragg, and how you molded him was very important about the other people in his life that he meets.
Yeah. It's being in intelligence, we analyze physical capabilities. Like I was involved in the Iraq War. I mean, who wasn't? Who served in the 90s? And one thing that people analyzed were you would have folks come out and say, "Well, he's got this many tanks. He's got this. He's got WMDs." And so he said he was going to use them, but then you dug deep and you saw, but he can't really do anything. He can fire some scuds, but they're not really chemical. Like, they don't have the ability to put chems on scuds, and definitely not nukes. They don't have nuke weapons. All they can do is make a dirty bomb. And so you start breaking down capabilities versus intent. And okay, you discount the intent because Saddam said he was going to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, right? He didn't have the capability to. So you have to analyze capabilities. Intent, okay, he may do some wild things, but, and that's one thing that I try to bring to my thrillers is a more realistic approach of, yeah, they want to do this, but they just physically can't.
So can I ask, how did you get into writing after your career, and then how did you get into compiling these anthologies? Because you mentioned this is now your third of the year and you have two more to go. How does one get into that?
I got into writing because I lit myself on fire. I retired from the Marine Corps, then I went to law school, then I became a business consultant, and I was gone all the time as a business consultant because we went on site with our client, and it was really lucrative. However, I was gone all the time. I didn't retire to be deployed again. So finally I retired from that. I was 52 years old, and I said, let me clean up my yard. I can do that. And I lit myself on fire trying to burn a brush pile. So I came inside and I had second degree burns on my legs, not third, second. And so my legs all dicked up. It hurts. And I'm sitting here. It's like, I think it's about time to write that book I always wanted to write. So I can't hurt myself any worse. So I started writing a book, and I wrote a post-apocalyptic book, a survival kind of novel, 100,000 words in 61 days. And I have never taken that long to write a book since because I liked it. I liked it.
You crank
and I said, this is what I do. I write. But then after a year, I got involved with 20 Books of 50K, a group. Well, after a month publishing my first book, I got involved with 20 Books of 50K, and it was going okay. But then when I took over the leadership of that group for Michael Anderle, we started to grow. We started to keep focus, and it gave me an opportunity to provide guidance, drive the ship as it may be, and help these other authors. And so over the years, that's been 5 years now. We've been able to help a lot of authors go from hobbies to careers to leaving their day jobs to retiring spouses, just because, hey, here's the available information. This is to help you. We say what we're doing, things we're trying, other people share. And like I said, we're up to 50,000, almost 50,000 people in a group now. So that's what led to the anthologies, because we're looking for other ways to help our authors besides, hey, here's just some information. And the anthologies, these are things that I'll publish because I eat the cost of the cover. I'll help with the editing. I put together a team of volunteers to do the first 500 word cut, and then do the final stories. And one thing I did with the final stories in the thriller, I didn't read them after they were submitted. I had my beta team, readers. These aren't authors, because readers will read a book differently than an author will.
Sure.
We're all jaded because we write. So I wanted people who were unjaded, and they gave it. If I got 3 thumbs up out of 4, it was in. And so that was why we cut from 28 down to 22.
Cool.
Wow.
No,
So
they're very good.
On fire, literally and figuratively, with your passion for this project.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting the literal part, but
literally on fire. Yeah, that's when people say, "How'd you get into writing?" That is the real answer. I lit myself on fire and said I can't be trusted, so I better just do stuff I can do that's not going to put me at risk.
It's nice to see that I mean, obviously you were a successful business consultant, obviously a successful Marine, but you brought both of those capabilities to helping these other authors, which is really nice, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there who, they're like, they at least want to try it. Not everyone could or maybe should be an author, but I think everyone should, if they feel like that, they should try it and then get some help and then maybe get better. So that's nice that you have that sort of community. So
There's no bar anymore. There's no because
writer's bar or something like that.
well, the bar getting published. You don't have to go through one of the big five, soon to be the big four publishers to get published. And self-published authors are grabbing more and more market share every year. Books, I'd like to think, and you see from Make Them Pay, tell me that book is indistinguishable from what you might find at Barnes & Noble.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize it was self-published.
You found the niche, and that's what piqued my interest. I guess I stumbled upon a post from 20 writers to 50K, I'm sorry, whatever.
20 books to 50K.
20 books to 50K. And I saw the idea of a thriller anthology and thought, wow, that's different. I've seen some short stories floating around, usually posted on someone's blog or maybe a Kindle Unlimited or something. But to have a compilation of 20 plus of them right there, bound together, and you can actually purchase it and have it on your shelf just like a book, it was kind of exciting. So you really found a niche there, and it's a niche that helps launch beginning authors. So,
well, and we have probably 10 well-established authors in the anthology, and the rest are newer. There's one that has just one or two. There's a couple that have one or two stories in the thriller genre, and it's okay because it's that balance of giving back for those folks who have realized some success, no matter what the genre. I have, what do I have? Like 80, 90 books in science fiction that I've written, and those are doing well. But can a science fiction author transfer over to thrillers? And a couple different people, once I published the third book of the Ian Bragg series, a couple different people contacted me separately, and they said, "You write thrillers better than you write science fiction." And that's not a slap on your science fiction. I like those too, but you just write thrillers better. It seems more natural. I was like, yeah, I've kind of lived in that world a fair bit.
Right.
And I understand the inner workings of people. And I had missed this point earlier about Saddam, and that you analyze people as an intel and a human intelligence kind of guy, knowing and seeing how people interact, watching people interact. That's what I try to capture with my stories, and I think I have some success with that.
That works real well in thrillers. I could see why your one reader had that feedback, because I'm thinking of Mitch Rapp. His skills in terms of hand-to-hand combat, in terms of kicking the crap out of people, right? Killing people silently and lethally. He's the best. But a lot of people don't realize his main skill might be awareness and taking in the environment, particularly other people, and having a read on them. I mean, his interrogation scenes are not just about, our last book had him carving up some human organs, just to say, as an interrogation method, but mixed into that, all that brutality, he was playing mind games to basically know how his threats would be received. Okay, is this person senior or is this junior? Is this person radicalized or fundamentalized to the point where they won't crack, and I need them to crack quick? So maybe I'll go to one of the junior guys. So being able to read people, know people, and have a psychological map of the people around you, that's a really important skill for any sort of thriller genre, however you take the story.
I think the thriller writers, because Jack Reacher does this really well, is he always knows what's going on in an area. Whenever he gets there, whenever he looks around, sees what's going on. And I think that's critical for the thriller guys without being overboard. Because then you've got the other thriller authors that count on technical means where they know everything that's going on. And that's the Bourne novels. Nobody knows everything. And this was a guy who had access to billions of dollars in Intel collection assets, and we still didn't know everything that was going on. So no private organization is going to be able to tap all of this stuff and have it all in one place and just know everything. It just doesn't happen that way. So in my thrillers, I'm closer to reality, and I think Vince Flynn was pretty good at getting that too. There are unknowns, and even Tom Clancy had certain unknowns, and his stories thrived on that.
Yeah. You just mentioned that you also have written, you said 90 sci-fi novels.
Something like that, yeah.
Can you just share with, what are they all one series? Are they all a bunch of different topics, or?
I have about 20 different series as I try different things and different characters in different universes. So I do like military sci-fi, but all my military sci-fi still have the character interaction, like the small teams and how they make fun of each other. Like my experience in the Marine Corps, I put that
Right.
in all my books. So space opera, because I grew up, I'm a child of the '60s. I grew up watching Star Trek, the new crazy series, Wagon Train to the Stars, right when it came out, and with each new episode, because my brother was 8 years older than me and he got the TV on Thursday night or whenever Star Trek came on, and we watched a new episode every week. And there was like 24 episodes a year, so every other week you'd be getting a new episode. So that had a big impact on me, especially as I got older and went back and watched them again. And if you paint them on the landscape of the '60s civil rights era and the movements and the things going on in the '60s, you see how impactful Gene Roddenberry was in getting those stories where he hid a social message behind the moonshot and things.
Right.
Yep.
So that was extremely influential. DC Fontana is one of the best storytellers in putting together a short story, picking one topic and wrapping everything around it. So Andre Norton as well, the good authors from the '60s, Heinlein, all influences on what I've done with my science fiction.
You mentioned science fiction. Have you come across or read The Three Body Problem? It's pretty wild that it's set in China during the Cultural Revolution. And so it's really unique to see and read sci-fi from a Chinese perspective and thinking about like communism and the generational and the psychology of that time period. And he's writing a sci-fi story during the Cultural Revolution, and it's just incredible. And they're turning it into a movie soon, and it becomes this big space opera, and it's just really interesting how different cultural backgrounds.
I have not, but Three Body Problem. Okay.
Yeah, Three Body Problem.
Yeah,
it's a long one. There's three books in the series, but it's worth it if you're into sci-fi.
Okay. That's like James S.A. Corey. Those guys hit a home run with that series. With hard science fiction, the science is almost all right, and how people would grow up and the interactions of humanity and how humanity would separate. Oh, they're Martians. It strikes me as realistic as you could get with a science fiction series, and it was a thriller.
Yeah,
right. I definitely find myself preferring hard science over the soft science. I don't know. I'm also like a biologist, so like whenever I get like a book that has biology or biochemistry in it, I appreciate it, especially when they add the details.
So you like The Martian then?
Yeah, I love The Martian. I thought it was very good. Also self-published, and then quickly got
it was a
up.
blogger, right? A science blogger who started making it.
Yeah, I think his parents were both into science, but yeah. So you mentioned you like Star Wars or Star Trek. Do you have a favorite science fiction book or a movie?
Or even which season? Which season was your favorite?
Or what season of Star Trek?
Oh, Star Trek. I have to say that the first season was pretty good. Second season was good as well, and even more dynamic. And then the third season, they kind of fell off a little bit because they were starting to lose traction with readers or watchers. So I think they got the hint that they weren't going to get renewed. So the third season was a mishmash of stuff. Next Generation was okay. I like Deep Space Nine because I do like the space station. I like Babylon 5, of course, because the Star Trek Voyager. I've done a complete watch of all the Star Treks, and I ran across Voyager was like 2 months ago. I started that, and I couldn't get the subtitles off. And I was watching the dialogue and the subtitles. I'm like, oh my god, this isn't good. I don't want to bash them, but it just wasn't. And if you look at the subtitles on like Babylon 5 and the quality of the dialogue, and so I ditched that after like halfway through the second season, and watching Battlestar Galactica, the new version, rewatch, of course. And if you put on subtitles of Battlestar Galactica, that is intellectual. It is intelligent dialogue. It is challenging. It makes you think. And then you go back to Star Trek Voyager, go to warp, changing to warp. Oh, we're at warp speed. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody wrote this.
You know,
I've watched.
yeah,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm saying I've watched a few of the Picard series on Paramount Plus or CBS Plus. It's okay. It's not. I was expecting it to be better, but
I was going to say
I watched the first season of Discovery.
that's the newest
Star
one,
Trek
right?
Discovery, and I couldn't get into it. The main character, Michael, was so unlikable.
Yeah,
and
I think I watched one episode and I stopped.
And Picard, when they said it took 3 episodes before he actually went to space, I'm like, yeah, he's out of here. So, so I haven't watched any episodes of that. Where we live, I live in the subarctic. I live outside Fairbanks, Alaska.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to ask you about this.
I can't stream where we are.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. So we have rewatch of Battlestar Galactica. I pulled out the DVDs because we have a massive DVD collection just because we can't stream because we don't have high-speed internet here. We have a MiFi that we pay. Our internet, we pay about $750 a month for internet. And this is, thank God we've got a good connection tonight, but it's hit or miss always. This is off a MiFi, so all of our internet is through a cell tower, and the other ones are metered because they're limited, and then they start slowing them down. This one is unlimited, but of course we're paying $15 a gig on anything we go over. We get 100 gigs a month, but that's comes out between all this asset.
Yeah,
access.
Don't stream.
No, way too much.
That's a lot. The sun's coming out there though. Hitting the summer soon. You're going to have more daylight. No,
we're over 12 hours of daylight a day now.
Wow.
And pretty soon it'll be 24 hours daylight.
Wow.
It's just so, and that's like, I think 73 days straight of nothing just darker than like a twilight.
You can golf at 2 a.m.
Yeah. They do have a midnight tournament.
Wow.
That they play late at night. And like, I'll take my dog for a walk. It'll be 3 a.m. It'll be bright light out and everybody's sleeping. So it's cool. Not the mosquitoes though. They don't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
What brought you out to Alaska? Just wanted to move out there?
After I retired from the Marine Corps, my wife went back to school. Got 2 master's degrees and a PhD, and then she got went on the big job search after she graduated and sat out the first year. Couldn't find any position, and then the second year looked like she was going to sit out again. And this position came available up here at University of Alaska Fairbanks. So a 1-year gig. Here we are 9 years later, and hopefully she'll get tenure next year.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Nice. That's fun.
You could write a good thriller set in Alaska.
Set in Alaska. I was thinking about that.
Has Rapp ever gone to the Arctic in Alaska?
I don't think he likes the cold. I don't think he likes the cold.
Yeah, he's not like Scott Harvath.
No, he's not like Scott Harvath.
No bikini babes in the ice cold. But I have a second thriller series called the Rick Bannock thrillers. And that was based more on my experiences. I call it a pseudo autobiography, and that one is a civilian contractor to the intel community who finds a thing, gets put into a position, and then has to hunt down a terrorist because he's the only one that really believes he's there. So I say that guy's hiding in plain sight. But Rick Bannock, and the second book in that one will take place with some elements in Alaska.
All right.
And I hope to get that one later this year.
How do you keep all of these storylines straight? Are you working on one at a time or like 5 at a time? Like I couldn't imagine doing that.
I work on no more than 3 at a time in order to keep them straight. I have spreadsheets with character listings and various details. Have to.
Yeah.
And I have my beta reader team. These guys are great. There's 4 people. They're all retired, so they're all available. And I'll shoot them a note, and I'll say, I can't remember this character's name. And within a minute or two, they'll say, oh, here it is. And they'll shoot it back to me. Or I can't remember what the ship name was from 3 books ago. I think it's 3 books ago, and they'll know. They'll know.
Wow.
Because I have one series that's 19 books long. I have another series that's 9 books long. So I have a lot of words out there, over 5 million words published, and keeping track. It helps. I think by the end of this year, I'll break down to just 2 series going at the same time. I have my best-selling series right now is a Judge, Jury, and Executioner, which is a space lawyer series.
Wow.
She's like Marshall Dillon, right? Goes from town to town, and it's planet to planet with handling legal issues based on the Federation, a loose conglomerate of planets. So that series is going really well because after I retired from the Marine Corps, I went and got a law degree. So as a lawyer as well as a Marine, I can put all those elements together, and it's space, so you can kind of make up stuff that would normally fit or be boring. The law is boring, by the way. It's not Perry Mason where you're in court. Hey, you did this. You said this. No, it's 99% sitting at your computer taking statements and digging through all kinds of researching, and it's really boring and mind numbing when you get down to most of it. So I did away with all of that, and we made it to Judge, Jury, and Executioner, where she has the full power. Once again, goes back to make them pay, a little bit of vigilante justice kind of approach, even though she's an official.
Wow. You have such a wide array of subject matter in the books. So if you were to recommend someone pick up one of your books, what direction would you point them in? And then also, what do you feel has been your personal favorite or your personal accomplishment where you close that book or release that book and just said, I love this one? Like, what do you feel like is your high watermark so far?
I tell you what, I have a number of books that I'll go back and look at them and say, this is just a good book. And one of those is Price of Freedom. It's the Bad Company book 3. That one is one of the main characters dies, and it's a build up to it. And he's not even a main character. In book 2, I forgot to put him in for the whole book. I had to go back and add him to a couple scenes because I kept forgetting about this one character. I'm like, I'm just gonna kill him off so I don't forget him anymore. Well, that didn't go over well. The fans really didn't like that. They almost rebelled. But the book was so good because it's the price. Every time you go into battle, you can't always have the good guys come out of a battle unscathed. And it's not like, oh, hey, you grazed me, I'm bleeding a little bit. No, people get killed. It's the fight, whether you want them to or not. And another book was a Fratricide, a book about an AI that went rogue. And that was Rivka, Judge, Jury, and Executioner, book 6. That book, we submitted it for the Dragon Award. And in order to do that, because people would read it out of the blue and not read the first 5 books, I had to go back and rewrite it to make it a standalone. Still, it's book 6 in the series, and I went through it. Now I was happy to rewrite it because it read so well. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm not this good, and I liked it. So
Nice.
Fratricide, and then I tell you, I like my thriller series. I really do. The Operator,
Yeah, I just picked
Clean
that up
Kill,
today.
and The
Amazon.
Replacement. They went really well. And out of all of them, I think the best book I ever wrote was People Raged and the Sky Was on Fire, which is Rick Bannock book 1, and there is no book 2 because it sold so poorly. But I think that's my best book, and you see it's really well reviewed if you pull it up. But I'll be damned, I couldn't sell that book to save my life.
Oh, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we don't want to use up too much of your gigs there. But before we let you go, can you let people know how they can find Make Them Pay, and if they can follow you? Are you on social? Give us the deets.
Hop over to craigmartelle.com. That's CraigMartelle.com, and all is there. All of my series, all the books, whatever's most recent. And Make Them Pay. I was talking to the webmaster today, and he said he was going to put that up there. So you should see that pop up today or tomorrow. But you can join my newsletter list, and I send out an email every Monday with here's sales, here's some stuff. I live in the subarctic, so my wife takes some great pictures of the aurora right from our driveway. Wow. I usually include a picture of the aurora if it's a winter, or the incredible foliage. This place turns into a jungle in the summer. because everything wants to grow really fast.
Wow.
Cool.
All right. Well, everyone out there in listener land, check out Make Them Pay and CraigMartelle.com, and you will have plenty of hours of entertainment, it seems like, with a lot of reading to do and catch up on.
You bet.
Thanks
And
for
if you like
joining us,
audio, everything's on audio too. Almost everything's on audio too. So
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Great.
yeah, thank you very much, Mike and Chris, for having me on, and good conversation. And you can never go wrong reading a Vince Flynn thriller.
That's right.
All right. Well, we hope you liked that interview with Craig. Very interesting guy, very nice guy. Nice talking to him, spending time with us. And yeah, we said it at the top, but we need to say it again. We need to thank our patrons, including our special operator, Sherry F., our special agents, George, Matt, Dawn, Dennis, Peggy, Catherine, Ray, Bridget, Jeff, and I think one of the new patrons.
Yeah, let's add on Mark H.
Yeah, Mark is a special agent. Please subscribe, rate, and review us using your favorite podcasting platform. You can find us online at mitchrappod.com. And as always, just let Mitch be Mitch.
So it works out. It works out very nicely.
That's great
Cool.
to hear. Yeah, congrats on that, getting that off the ground. That's an impressive project.
You do a lot.
Yeah. Some people, I mean, we've talked to a few authors who are struggling to get through their first or second book, and it's years off their life and, hours of, agony. Just got to get this right. Got to edit this 18 times. Yeah. I'm querying for a publisher and getting these rejection letters, and you're kind of self-made in the writing world.
I was 52 years old and a lawyer, retired from 2 different gigs. There was no way I was going to get a rejection letter from some 22-year-old lackey working at a big 5 publisher.
Yeah, they pass it off to the interns.
You said, screw them. I'm doing this myself.
I can do awesome. This. I can do this better for me. And with access to good cover designers and stuff, there's absolutely no reason for people to put out anything that looks less than top notch.
That's right. Cool. That's great. All right. Well, thanks again. It was fun
yes,
spending time with you.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, have a
good one. Have a great day.
Bye.
You too.